To Donald Trump now, where he's prided himself in the past and his first term on being a president of peace. And indeed, we did have a much more peaceful world while he was in the White House. Well, he's once again earning his stripes as that president of peace. He's currently in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, signing off on a $219 billion arms deal as officials talk up prospect of ceasefire in Gaza. He's very busy on the job, and one of the first things he did when addressing the Saudis was to pay respect to the incredible empire that they have built.
And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. The birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly.
Trump strongly condemned the Westerners who have throughout history tried to make Saudi Arabia their own, pillaging all those rich resources, and was crediting, you guys have done it yourselves. The neocons tried, the interventionalists tried, but this isn't an empire built of the West. You guys did it yourself. And he also talked about the prospect of peace in the Middle East, even with Iran.
Yet I'm here today not merely to condemn the past chaos of Iran's leaders, but to offer them a new path and a much better path toward a far better and more hopeful future. As I've shown repeatedly, I am willing to end past conflicts and forge new partnerships for a better and more stable world, even if our differences may be very profound, which obviously they are in the case of Iran. I have never believed in having permanent enemies. I am different than a lot of people think. I don't like permanent enemies. Some of the closest friends of the United States of America are nations we fought wars against in generations past, and now they're our friends and our allies. I want to make a deal with Iran. If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy if we're going to make your region and the world a safer place.
The whole speech was absolutely exceptional, and he finished by again promising that he was going to be the president of peace, who would broker as much as he could in the Middle East.
As President of the United States, my preference will always be for peace and partnership whenever those outcomes can be achieved. Always. It's always going to be that way. Only a fool would think otherwise.
Only a fool would think otherwise. So is it any wonder that the Saudi prince and all those present gave him a standing ovation when he finally finished? And his tour of the Middle East continues. He's currently in Qatar. And just before that, he was lifting sanctions in Syria. Check this out.
After discussing the situation with Crown Prince Mohammed and President Erdogan of Turkey, I am also ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria to give them a fresh start. It gives them a chance for greatness. The sanctions were really crippling, very powerful.
What a man, what a president, what a leader of the free world. I absolutely love seeing him in action. He's very genuine and he means business. And as we know, war is never the way forward. And here he is saying, look, even with Iran, I want to smoke a peace pipe. I want to offer, as he called it elsewhere in his speech, an olive branch. We can make this work for both entities. And I'm just going to keep doing that all around the Middle East so that we can once again know peace.
I was in a cafe in Paddington in Brisbane last weekend and got talking to a woman who, you can guess who she votes for, but she was going off on Donald Trump. And I said, specifically, what don't you like about Donald Trump? She said, all the wars, which I thought, what has he actually... I know, that's what she thought. So clearly she's been reading alternative media.
Wrong president.
Trump is presenting himself as a peacemaker. I just wonder, though, whether he's read this right, because he's betting on the fact that money trumps culture. And I don't necessarily believe that money trumps culture, or more specifically, that many in that region of the world will be more interested in dollars than in warring against Israel. And the war against Israel that we're all trying to solve it's religiously motivated. And I'm not sure that Trump making financial deals is enough to overcome that religious cultural drive. We've made the same mistake with China. We thought if we can just bring China into the Industrial Revolution and we can get them prospering, then they'll give up their authoritarian ways and they'll join the rest of the free world. That was a disaster. China have become one of the richest nations on earth with a massive military. So I wish Trump every success, but I'm not so convinced that money will trump culture.
But the point is that the deep ethno-religious wars that occur in that region will never end. I'm here to say it. They're never going to end.
That's my point.
In some way, they will continue. So you have to make a decision whether you keep intervening in the region, which every time it's happened hasn't worked. I mean, look at Iraq, look at Afghanistan, which of course we then pulled out of.
Syria.
Because it didn't work, and now the Taliban's taken the joint back, right?
Yeah.
So our intervention has never worked. So Donald Trump is simply saying, and I think he's correct to say it, that we can't be the moral arbiters of the world. Of course, we try as the West to exert our influence as much as we can, but every time we've tried to do it militarily, it hasn't worked. So I'm trying the only other option we have available to us, which is money and diplomacy. And with Iran, he said, look, Iran can come to the table. And if Iran doesn't come to the table, I'll do to them what I did to them in my last term as president. I'll cut off all their money. Now, of course, all of that money resumed under Biden. And where do you think all of that money ended up? It's ended up in the hands of the Houthis, and it's ended up in the hands of Hamas, etc., that has fueled the war that has been going on. So Trump is simply saying, what we have done to this point hasn't worked. I'm going to try something else. If you don't play ball, I'll cut your money off. Given everything else hasn't worked, I don't see anything bad in trying to give this a go.
Indeed,
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying
trying to
I'm doubtful as to whether this is going to succeed.
These are not poor countries. You're talking about like this is some sort of China swooping in as they do in the Pacific and trying the Indo-Pacific and trying to make all these deals with these impoverished countries whereby it's like, ha, I've got you. Now you've got to do what I want. These are incredible empires. Saudi Arabia has 33 million people. Iran has over 90 million people. These are proud nations, homogenous cultures, incredibly strong in every single sector that you can possibly name. That's what he's doing business with. I think it's incredibly smart. And like you say, Caleb, the other option has never worked.
That's true. We'll see if this one does.